Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fight Night. On the cards tonight, the long anticipated bout for cheap beginner still. Fighting out of the blue corner, swearing that flour paste ain't that bad, water cooling is king, and Chinese stainless steel is still stainless steel. Mini pot still. Fighting out of the red corner, seducing you with convenience and giving the stink eye to the plastic police. Air still. Fight! How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I am Jesse and this is Still It, or Fight Night. Tonight, I guess. Here's the plan, guys. We're going to fill both of these stills up with exactly the same thing and run them at the same time. Let them duke it out and figure out which one comes out victorious. We're going to make them both do an all feints run. If you don't know what feints are, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Check this video out up over here and then come back and watch this video afterwards. Doesn't make much difference for this video. But I thought it would be a great little test to see which of these two guys can come out on top. So, let's get stuck in. Round 1, safety. There's no real objection to the mini pot still in this category, other than it does often get used on gas. Gas isn't ideal when purely looking at safety. It did also have a plastic seal, but I ditched that, and it's very easy to use with flour paste instead. However, with the air still, there's absolutely no getting away from the plastic. I'm not going to sit here and preach to you about plastic, but what I will say is it's not ideal. Round 2, setup. This really is where the air still shines. You literally plonk it down, you fill it up, you turn it on, you put the lid on. That's it. In contrast to that, the pot still is kind of a pain in the ass. You need to find a water outlet, you need to attach that to the still, you need to find a heat source, you need to get that sorted, and probably biggest of all on a day-to-day basis is if you get rid of that seal and you use the flour paste, that's messy and it does take a little while. Round 3, operation. This is where the difference in the two units really shows up. The mini pot still requires constant input in terms of altering the heat and altering the condenser, whereas the air still needs, well, I guess this makes the air still easier to run, but it gives you no adjustability whatsoever. As you can see, this thing charged ahead, ran really hot, really fast, ripped through distillation, whereas I could control the pot still, keep it to a nice, even, slow offtake, and keep the distillate cool as well. Round 4, cuts and product. We're back in the shed now, and before we get into the next round, I need to point out something that my Patreons helped me out with, and that is the fact that this air still that I'm using is set up to run water, and because of that, it runs at a higher power. That is why I was having issues with the heat. So we've got a bit of a mismatch here. This fight should have never happened. They should have never been pitted against each other. It's an uneven fight, but interesting nonetheless. And if you guys are into this, I'll look at getting a spirit version of this still as well. I've got the cuts from both machines sitting here all laid out in order, and I've been spending the last 15 minutes sort of going through them and comparing them. You may have noticed that instead of making cuts based on flavor or anything like that, I did them purely based on volume, and I wanted to do that to compare directly between the two different stills. Funnily enough, guys, there's not a huge difference between the two. There's really not. I did note that the pot still version seems to have retained a little bit more flavor up in the heads, and it also seems to be slightly cleaner for slightly longer. I'm going to say the pot still takes this on a slight technicality. It is more flavorful and more approachable in the heads and cleaner longer down into the tails. But I'll tell you what, guys, it's not as different as I really thought it was going to be. Being an all feints run, there's all sorts of stuff mixed into this, and you can see the different flavors sort of spreading out throughout the run. The grappa, funnily enough, pokes up mostly in the front of the run, and then there's some smoke, just a little bit of whisper smoke hanging out down the bottom. General whiskey-ishness in the middle. The biggest difference between the two is down in the tails, where the smoke starts to show up. And in the pot still version, I'm getting a decent amount of smoke with still very clean spirit. I'd be happy to put all of this into any blend I was going to make. Whereas the air still goes to smoke and a little bit funky and tailsy down the bottom. I'd probably still put maybe half of this into a blend, but I'd be cautious of putting all of it in there.
Round 5, volume.
So really quickly, guys, the reason volume is important is when you're making cuts, the more product you have going through the still, the more resolution you get on your cuts. So if you have 1 liter of wash, it's very, very difficult to find precise cuts. Compared to having 100 liters of wash, you've just got a greater fudge factor, I guess, between meaningful different fractions coming off the still, and obviously because these things are so small, that becomes an issue. In my mind, it's one of the biggest drawbacks, especially with this guy here, which has a meaningful volume. What I mean by that is, you know, you could fill this pot up to 5 liters, but you wouldn't want to do that. You get into trouble. You can fill it up to 4 liters, maybe 4.5 if you're really pushing it. This guy, on the other hand, you can get double that. So 8 liters easy, 8.5, 9, maybe if you wanted to push it, or you were doing low wines and it wasn't, you know, something that was going to bubble up a lot in the pot. Yes, you can 100% combat this by doing multiple runs. So, you know, you make a 30 liter ferment and you just keep putting 4 liter batches through here. You collect all of that up, you do it again, that kind of thing. Yes, you can do that, but it's a lot of time and it's a big old pain in the ass. So this one wins out for that.
Round 6, cost.
Finally, let's talk about cost, because let's face it, that matters when you're doing things like this. This is a bit tricky because I can't find an exact replica of this to show to anyone now. It seems like a discontinued model, but there's other things pretty similar to it. And this one, obviously, there's a whole bunch of these things that are like reskinned, rebranded, and you know, pumped out that are all pretty much the same damn thing. I would recommend, based on my experience, don't go for a water one. You want to get a spirits one. But in general, these run about 110 to 140 US dollars on something like Amazon. This is going to run about $150 if you're getting something similar to this, or if you're going to get like the still spirits version, it's more like 250 American dollars. Clear winner over here. But remember, guys, remember that when you buy this, you literally just get the pot. You've got to figure out a heat source. You've got to figure out plumbing to get the water in and out. So, you know, there is some extra cost involved in this, to be sure.
It's time for the scorecards.
So the judges' scores are in, and the title goes to Mini Pot Still. So before we wrap things up and I really give you my recommendations on where these things sit, I need to say a huge thank you to the Patreons. You are the people that make this stuff happen. I am able to do this because of you. And not only that, you guys stopped me from looking like an idiot in this video, so thank you. If you're finding value in these videos and you'd like to help to contribute directly to the channel, you can go to chasethecraft.com/support to find out all the different ways that you can help out. Well, one of them is Patreon, if it's right for you. So, to be serious, guys, we kind of looked at this in 6 different areas, and to be fair, this guy here won on every single one of them except one, and that is ease of use. Now, I don't think that this should be taken lightly. Ease of use and where you can use this thing is a huge draw. It really is. And I know there's a lot of people out there that just say this is complete trash, there's no reason for it, buy a real still, and they hate on newbies when they get this. Get a real life, man. Take a break. Like, chill out. People are getting into the hobby. It's a good thing. And whichever way they can get into the hobby, you know, not only that, there's people with tiny little apartments, and having something this compact, this sort of in one little thing is quite appealing. And I have to say, I really have to say, I'm really considering getting a spirit version of this purely to run little experimental batches. So gin, for example, I think would be great if I could figure out that heat problem by getting a model that's made for spirits, funnily enough. The idea of being able to just plonk this thing down on the dinner table, throw stuff in it, not have to worry about running water that leaks half the time and all that sort of thing, turn it on and just let it have at it. That is pretty appealing. But I'm not going to tell you what you should be doing with your time and more importantly with your money. That's up to you. For me and my money, I'm going to go with this guy. You know, if I had to choose between the two, I would pick this one hands down every time. If I was a new distiller, I would really recommend that people go for something like this, not only because of the benefits we've looked at, but also the benefit of learning how to operate a still. Being forced to run a still manually really makes you think about what's going on inside of here and, you know, different things that you can change and influence to change the outcome of the product. And that, in the long run, is going to make you a much, much, much better distiller. I'm guessing that there is a lot of people out there that are going to have something to say about this video. If you do, by all means, guys, jump into the comments section, have your say, say what you think I could have done better to test these things, say what you think I've missed in terms of advantages or disadvantages for both of them, but be a civil human being about it. Remember that you're using the old keyboard, the typey. People can't see body language, facial expressions, these sorts of things, so, you know, just be kind. If you liked this video, please guys, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a whole lot. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell so you get notifications when I put new videos out. And I will catch you next time, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya. How you get?